Super excited to have our special guests, Alicia Wiey, who is a professional photographer and my maternity photographer and my brand photographer whenever we're allowed to shoot pictures again, and my really good friend Sara, who is a professional model, is a curvy style curator, which I love that title, and also has a really cool Instagram that talks about radical joy, and she and her boyfriend have a food Instagram, which if you want some food envy, check it out. In the comment box, in the chat box, I put links to everyone's Facebook, their Instagrams, and their websites, so you can check out everyone's really cool stuff. Today, we are going to talk about being picture perfect. So I know as just like a fashion influencer and a blogger, a lot of times people ask me, how do you take good pictures? I've had a lot of people talking about how to take pictures now that we're all stuck at home, and how does that work? And so I just thought it would be really fun to bring the two of you guys in to talk to everybody. So I'll start by just having you guys introduce yourselves. So I'll start with Alicia and then have Sara introduce herself.
Hey, I'm Alicia. I am a wedding photographer, family photographer, and branding photographer. I'm based here in Baltimore, Maryland. I'm a mama to 2 kids, a toddler and a 5-year-old, and have 2 dogs. I'm married. We've been spending a lot of time together as a family. It's been great.
Sara.
I'm Sara. I live in DC with my boyfriend and our dog and our 2 cats. No kids, but certainly a full house, even without them. I was a plus size model in New York City for almost 7 years. And I don't model anymore, but I still have lots of friends who do. So if you're a curvy woman and you're following any of the curvy brands, you're probably seeing my friends either in the ads or sometimes shooting the ads, because a lot of models turn into photographers when they get done. So nice to meet everyone.
Oh, that's cool. I did not know that. That's a fun little fact. So before I get started, I mean, we were chatting a little bit before everyone came on, but I just like to ask, how is everybody doing in this new normal that we're all living in? So Sara, how are you guys like managing and holding up?
We're doing okay. I would say probably the most challenging thing is that we share a workspace because we don't really have an office. So this is my workspace and I'm sitting at our dining room table, and literally on the other side, I have a large monitor. On the other side of it is my boyfriend's setup. So it's a lot of fun where he gets to listen to me, because my job involves me being on the phone basically all day, and his job is him not on the phone at all, which is good, but he has to listen to me, which is not good. So that's been fun for him.
What about you, Alicia? How are you holding up, especially with a toddler and a 5-year-old?
Oh yeah, we're pretty good. I've pretty much taken this time. We went from working opposite schedules. Now we're all together. We try and eat at the table, and I know that seems like really small, but for 5 years, we never ate together as a family, because we were just always on the go or traveling or just opposite. So we've just been cooking a lot, eating together, at the table a lot, and going on little outdoor adventures, just our family and our dogs.
Nice. And I will say, I didn't even think about this, but Sara and Alicia, you guys should connect, because Alicia has an Instagram called Charm City Fitty, where she's always posting her really good recipes and she's putting them in her Instagram. So I'm like, I just feel like
I want to see that your food
on that too. I forgot that until she
said,
yeah, a lot. I'm like, yes, your meal is like so much better than whatever I'm throwing together in a panic every day. And then for, you guys that are watching us, if you want to either, unmute yourself or just chat in the chat box and let us know, like, how are you guys doing? How are you managing? I know some of the people in here, some of the people I don't, but I know there's people with kids and all of that stuff. So how are you guys managing? I'll give you a second. I keep seeing they like unmute and then mute themselves again. You can put it in the chat box too. We'll keep going, but yeah, if you guys let us know how you're doing. I obviously just want to check in.
Hey, this is Robin. I'm doing well. As I mentioned before, I'm Taria's mom, so I'm a relatively new grandmom, and of course, this crisis has made it difficult for me to spend time. So that's a little bit unsettling, but on the other side of it, we're all healthy. My husband and I are bunkered down, and the rest of the families are all bunkered down in their homes, and we're dealing with it. I work in sales, and a lot of my demonstrations are virtual anyway, so Zoom is a very common way for me to engage with my customers. But interestingly enough, I won an award called Women in Sales for North America, or I'm a nominee, and I have to do a photo, and like a full thing photo, professional photo, that's what they called it. And so I think Taria pointed me in your direction, because I'm like, I can't even imagine how I can do something like that at home for a magazine. I'm just, so that's why I'm here.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. And Taria, thank you for pointing her in our direction. We'll certainly try our very best to help you and help you get, a high quality photo. And congratulations on your award nomination as well. That's incredible. So well done. I'm glad to hear you guys are safe and well. So Taria is a friend of mine, and she has a baby that's a couple months older than my son. So we commiserate a lot on the good and the bad of everything that's going on. And I do know, my parents and my husband's father is in the same position where it's just tough to see the baby. So our son he's 8 months today, and he thinks every FaceTime is for him, because he's so used to FaceTiming his grandparents. So when I have him on my lap on my Zoom calls, he tries to kiss the computer because he thinks it's, time for kisses, because that's what he does, which is funny, but, I certainly, our family can certainly relate as well. So thank you again for joining us. And I hope, even though no one else spoke up, that everyone is doing well. We're obviously thinking about you. And we are going to go ahead and get started. So I think what's really interesting is when someone says, okay, how do I take a good picture? What's like the one thing I need to know about taking a good picture? And people say, find your light, or really good lighting is important. But if you're an amateur, you're not used to doing this stuff, you don't even know what that means. So maybe, Alicia, you can start and kind of walk us through, what does find your light mean? How do I find my light? What's the best light? And then Sarah, maybe you can also help us out too.
So I think that natural sunlight is the best light. If you were going to be outside, then it would be ideal to be close to sunrise or close to sunset, so within 1 to 2 hours of that. Midday makes it a little bit harder with harsh light being outside. It creates some harsh shadows on your face depending on where you're at, and finding shade can be tricky. But I'm also a person who's a fan of artificial lighting, flash setups inside the studio, but preferably natural light is the best light. And you can find that indoors just by finding a window, opening it up, getting close to a door, like a patio door, your front door. Just get as much window light in as you can. And you'll find that the different ways that you face natural light. So like me right now, I have a window right here. It's lighting this side of my face and body, but if I were to turn this way, it would create like a really nice glow on my face. So everything will be brighter and pop. And then if I were to turn around, behind me would be glowing. So. Okay.
So you want the light to be like you want to be facing the light, right? Not having it behind you, right?
Yeah, just get the light on your face because it's filtered. It's coming from outside through a window. So it's great to have it like even on your face so you're not getting like a shadow on one side of your face.
Okay, that makes sense. Sarah, do you have anything to add?
That was a fantastic explanation, Alicia. I think you covered it. Yeah, similarly, I have a window here so you can kind of see the same. And I would say just as you're thinking about it, especially if you're taking your own photo, a lot of what Alicia said about how you're turned towards the light and how it creates shadows is something that you want to pay attention to. And a lot of people make the mistake of standing in front of a window because they think it's going to give them additional light, but then they're shooting out the window and then you do get the shadow behind you, and you'll see the people in the photos are dark and there's a bright light behind them. That's not what you want. So don't just go stand in front of a window and then have someone shoot you directly in front of the window. More often than not, that's not going to produce the photo that you're looking for.
Awesome, thank you. Sorry, I'm typing to the Instagram people who are agreeing that that's a good tip. So yeah, I think that's probably one mistake I see a lot of people making, and and having to say, no, okay, I'm gonna take your picture, but like, let's switch and put the sun so you're facing the sun. And I know then it gets into like, how do you not have the squinty eyes? So I think that's a really good tip too, about 2 hours after sunrise or 2 hours before sunset, so you're not in the middle of that like harsh sunlight that's like right overhead. So those are great tips. So now another question that I get all the time, and it's like, what poses make for the best pictures? And I know sometimes when you're posing, it doesn't necessarily look natural. So I would ask, maybe, are there certain angles or directions people should face because they're more flattering? And then if you want to look natural, like, what's the best way to capture looking natural? So maybe I'll start with Sarah, and then Alicia, you can hop in.
Sure. So let's see. The best way, I was like, you asked me like 3 questions.
I know, that's a lot of questions, sorry.
So to find, just generally speaking, when you're trying to pose, like the best thing to do, like especially if you know that you have like a shoot coming up, like Robin, you mentioned you've got to do something that's got to look professional. The best advice I have is to get in front of the mirror and move your body in front of the mirror, because you want to be able to see yourself and you need to be comfortable with yourself. And a lot of times I think when we pose for pictures, you don't really know how you look. So get in front of the mirror, like shake your body, like get comfortable. So I kind of wish I was standing up so I could like show you guys a little bit. And then, think about how your body, kind of the lines of your body. So, you want to sit with your shoulders up, and kind of like get into line, and then kind of just like settle into it a little bit so that you look natural. So kind of like that way you don't get like hunched shoulders, you don't get like the double chin in your face, so kind of like pull yourself up and then relax a little bit, or like take a deep breath and like exhale would be another way to say it. I think also, again, for us curvier women, a lot of times we get the double chin. So one thing you can do to kind of combat that is lean forward a little bit, and you can see like you'll elongate your face. And then I like to tilt my head. That's like my preference. Not everybody wants to do that, but if you just do like a soft tilt, it kind of like looks a little bit more interesting and engaging. And then just like with your body in general, a lot of times you'll hear people say to do a 3/4 angle, and that just means to like rotate your shoulders and your body slightly away from the camera, and then you can turn your head back, and that helps us look a little thinner if that's something that you're interested in for your photo. A lot of times, like for like my mom, who's in her 60s, I'll have her just like put her hand on her hip because it's more comfortable for her. So like kind of getting like a go-to pose that you can have if it's just like a family photo or something that you, not necessarily professional, but something you want to look nice in, getting kind of like that pose that you can just like get into, and like, I'm just gonna put my hand on my hip and like pop my hip every time. Just feel comfortable in one, and that's okay. Yeah, that's it.
Alicia, do you have anything to add?
That was literally exactly what I was going to say. I mean, I know professional photographs are often the first time people are ever going to see every angle of their body, every angle of their face. So definitely getting in front of the mirror helps. And what Sarah said about like elongating your neck, a lot of people naturally, especially if they're in a photo with somebody else, they will go like this to be closer to that person, and it's going to create the double chinnage. And just one big thing for me is hands. You have to find something to do with your hands. Don't let them dangle. Do not let them just dangle by your side. It can be very awkward. Put it on your hip, rest it on your leg, bring your arm back like this, so that you don't look so stiff and awkward. And you can do other things with your hands. You could like put it on your face, something like this, but find something to do with both of your hands. Put in a pocket if you have a pocket. Yeah, so it looks more natural.
Awesome. I think those are all really good tips. I know I'm like the culprit of I don't know what to do with my hands, so that's how I started putting my hands on my hips and trying to shoot with things in pockets, because it does give you something to do. And I think Sarah's point about moving and practicing in a mirror is a really great point. I always joke that like Tyra Banks said it on America's Next Top Model, like the very first season, like get in a mirror and practice. And so that's what I would do. And so I do think that helps. And I think the bit about moving too, I remember when my husband and I shot with Alicia, my husband like hates taking photographs. It's like his least favorite thing to do ever. And I'm like, do you know who you married? But when we were there, one thing Alicia had us do was she like stopped in the middle and she's like, okay guys, just like dance, like do the in the our photos. Yeah, like shake. We were just shimmying. We were just being really silly. But some of the best photos from our maternity shoot were because she captured those moments of us doing it. So even though we were being silly, it looked really natural and you could just tell we were having fun and a good time. So I think those are like some really, really helpful tips. So you guys talked about how we can look better in a photo. And I think you talked a little bit about like the don't lean back because you'll get that double chin there. But are there any other tips that you can give us about maybe what not to do in a photograph? And I think either one of you guys can answer that.
So just because we were talking about hands, and I agree, like you can certainly, put your hand on your face. One thing that you want to watch, and you'll see a lot of models, so if I put my hand on my face and I lean into it, you can see it's like smushing my face. So we cheat and you kind of just rest and you don't actually put your hand, you don't want to lean your weight. So sometimes you're mirroring something that looks like a natural or real picture, but you kind of cheat it and you don't actually do that, because obviously that doesn't make for a good picture. So just things to think about when you're, even if you put your hand in your pocket. I remember a lot of times, you're modeling, you're walking down the catwalk, what have you, you put your hands in your pockets, but it can look like your fingers get cut off. Sorry, I can't talk about posing without moving, so I feel like I'm just like over here moving.
Stand up, pose, do what you need to do.
So just be aware when you put your hand in your pocket, sometimes it's actually better to tuck your thumb into your pocket instead of your four fingers, because you can look like you cut your hand off. Similarly, when you are like a lot of times people like to cross their legs or kind of like put one leg behind them, you can end up looking like you're missing a leg or missing an arm or things like that. So and the best way to know if that's going to happen again is to get in front of the mirror and look and see kind of like, where do I actually need to put my leg? How can I actually, do that so that I don't look like I've said, like if you put your arm behind your back or something weird like that, you might inadvertently end up looking a little odd. And then usually if it's like a little bit uncomfortable, it's going to make a good picture. So again, like that's the idea of like resting your hand. Like it's not comfortable to sit like this and not actually rest my hand on my cheek, but it'll make the picture better. So.
That's such a good point. I remember when I was taking my second set of maternity photos, the photographer was like, this is going to hurt. And I was like, what? And she's just like, yeah, if it's not uncomfortable, then it's probably not like the best it can look. And it's so true. And ever since then, I've been telling my clients, like, it's not going to be comfortable. You're going to arch your back. You're going to stand up straight. You might hold your breath a little bit, lean and awkward, but it looks good in photos.
Yeah, which is true, because she did say that to me when I was taking my maternity photos. And I have this photo, I think if anyone is friends with me on Facebook, you've seen it, where I have my hands on my back and the other hand like on my belly, and it was wildly uncomfortable, but it is truly the most stunning photo probably I have of myself, because it's just this gorgeous white background and it's like you just see me and belly and all of the curves. And she was right, it wasn't comfortable, but it's a great photo. So I think those are really, really good points. And you guys, if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and say, hey, I have a question. This is not, just our show to run. We definitely want to help you guys, especially those of you that need to take pictures. I know a couple of you have reached out to me and said you have some pictures that you need to take. So I'll pause for a second in case anyone else wants to jump in here.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So I'm a dancer, so I actually have to take two sets of photos. I need to take professional photos because I'm also a marketer, and then I have to take dance photos. And I do a lot of shows, and when I look at the photos from the shows, my face always looks insane. Like I'm squinting weird, I have a weird facial expression, I always look kind of crazy. How do you it's always that in the moment face, but it never reflects well on that camera. So how do you consciously have a face that doesn't look like you are using the bathroom or in the middle of a screen or something like that?
Oh, I guess I'll go. I think that resetting your face is very important, and it's something as simple as you could be smiling way too long because you're trying to like make sure that you look good in your photo. Just raise your eyebrows up. That easily resets your face, so you don't feel so strained, and it's a subtle way to do it where you're not like stretching your face out to reset it. That's my only tip for that.
That's a great tip, Alicia, too. I think if it's, so I kind of will sound like a broken record, but practice is a good way to do it. And especially, I know this is a question that we're going to get into later, but take a lot of selfies and get comfortable with your own face, because I think, again, a lot of times the only time that we take pictures, like we're kind of in other people's pictures. So either get really close in the mirror, take a lot of selfies, kind of figure out, it could be, I've had literally thousands of pictures of my face taken, and nothing makes you dissect your own appearance more than having thousands of pictures of your own face. And so it's like, oh, my left eye's a little bigger, and oh, my eyebrow, like I have one eyebrow that's arched and one that's straight. And so you start to notice things like that. But the only reason I know that is because I've taken so many pictures. So if you're not in a situation where those types of pictures are going to be taken of you, do it for yourself. And then you can see your face more. And then just like get comfortable with expressions, like make weird faces at yourself, and kind of like, my mouth does weird things all the time. I have like a downturned mouth. And so it comes across that I frown in photos a lot. And again, until I started taking more pictures of myself or having those pictures taken of me, I didn't really know that. So just like awareness.
Those are really good tips. And like when Alicia was saying raise your eyebrows, I found myself doing it as she was telling us. So I bet you guys were too. And yeah, I think that's great about taking the selfies and practicing. That's such a good tip, especially if you're going to be moving in the pictures. You're probably going to have to practice moving and having that relaxed face so that you're not grimacing or whatever that is. And I think when I was younger and I was on a competitive dance team, we would always have to practice smiling and like making our faces in the routine, because if not, you're concentrating so much on what you're doing, you forget you have to have this face. And it's kind of the same thing for the picture. Since you're a dancer, the same way you practice when we do our classes and you're like, guys, smile so you can breathe. Do that and think about that consciously. And I think you'll find that you naturally are able to have some faces that don't look like you're going to the bathroom or anything else. So I think that's a really great question. And we do have another question that came in. We are going to actually cover this, so I'm going to table it till we get there. But I do see your question, and the question is, I have a tummy, so what's the best outfit to make me look our best? And I'm super excited because I feel like we all are going to have some great tips for that, but that is one of the questions we're going to cover actually shortly. So you know what? Let's just skip to that. Are you guys cool with that? Yeah. Let's skip to it. So let's talk about outfits that are flattering, and we'll talk specifically about the tummy. And then I also want to talk about colors and patterns that pop on camera, and maybe some things we should avoid on camera. So let's start with the question we have, which is, I have a tummy. What is the best outfit to make me look my best? And maybe I'll start with Sarah and go to Alicia, and then the stylist is going to have her 2 cents too.
Yeah, outfits that make you look your best. I feel like, so there's some like typical, I think typical kind of tips about like, stripes and patterns and things like that you can pay attention to. For me, like smaller patterns, that are like a little tighter together. So like you might like polka dots, but maybe not like the giant polka dots, things like that, especially across that area. And then just like not drawing direct attention to there. Looking at like vertical lines are very slimming. So one of my most favorite pictures I ever took, I'm a size 16, which you can't tell from this. So I am tummy, curvy, all of that. It had 2 black panels on the outside and a big block of color in the middle. And so it made me look so thin in my stomach area, which is also my problem area, because it created the illusion of, you focused in on that block of color in the middle and the black kind of slimmed on the outside. So things like that are really helpful.
Alicia?
High-waisted things help. very much. And if it's a one-piece item that splits, make sure that the bottom half is flowy, versus the alternative where the bottom half could be tighter. Yeah. High-waisted pants are very popular now too. You can find them everywhere. Skirts. That's I literally have on high-waisted pants right now because 2 kids were like, yeah, no, you ain't coming back from that. So
that's trend. Thank God for high-waisted.
Yes. I get to wear a crop top with them. It's amazing.
These are facts. So yeah, I think high-waisted is a great tip. High-waisted paper bag pants are like really popular right now, and they're super comfortable and like very cute and fashion forward. You can't see it, but I was joking. I'm wearing the outfit I was gonna wear for my branding shoot with Alicia, and it has like this little tie on here, and then it's kind of like flowy there because I have a belly too, and I still have the baby belly, which added an extra bump and all sorts of fun things going on there. So you definitely can get things with a tie or like a cute belt or things like that. I think the other thing that you can think about is adding interest in other places to draw away from your stomach, right? So if you have a great pair of earrings, part of the reason I picked this outfit to shoot with Alicia is I was gonna have my hair down in a really great necklace. So the attention is up here, not in my middle area. You can do that with color and using pops of color in different places to, again, avoid the middle area. What you don't want to do if you're going to wear pants is wear pants that are too tight and then give you like the muffin top or like the roll over top of it. So make sure you're getting clothes that are actually fitted to your body and actually make a lot of sense. And then like Sara said, avoid patterns that draw attention to the middle. So you can do patterns, but you want to think about the scale of the patterns. And then patterns are tricky too, because you also want to think about where you're shooting, because if you're shooting somewhere where there's a lot going on in the background, you may not want a pattern that's going to compete with whatever's happening behind you. So just when you're thinking about patterns, you want to think about that. The other thing to hide a tummy, and this is going to sound very counterintuitive, is to wear clothes that actually fit your body. Most people think if I wear something bigger, it's going to hide it. It doesn't hide it. It makes you look larger. So if you want to wear a skirt and you want to wear a pencil skirt, get it in a good material that's structured, so not like some kind of tight jersey, but you can get like a nice neoprene pencil skirt or one that's in a more structured cotton or something like that, so that it actually fits your body. A-line will hide your tummy. You can do like an A-line pleated skirt and tuck a top into it, and that'll look really cute and nice. But just don't try to hide your body, because it's going to have the exact opposite effect of what you want it to do. And angles are a good way to also hide your tummy. So, you can cheat the angles. If she's going to shoot, you can do 1, 2, 3 and tuck it in a little bit. Good shapewear will kind of smooth you out, even if you do have a tummy. And obviously if you have a tummy, that 3/4 angle that Sara was talking about, try that instead of maybe like being completely to the side, unless your tummy's a baby bump and you want to show that off. So I think there's definitely a few things that you can do to minimize that. So thinking, let me know if that answers your question, or if you need more, because we could probably do this all day. I want to stick with that and with the clothing. Oh, I saw you unmute yourself, Robin. Did you want to say something?
I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you. I'm taking notes. This is amazing. I'm so glad that I was invited. Thank you. That's everything that I needed to understand. Thank you.
Oh, good. I'm glad we could help you. That's awesome. It is our pleasure. So along the same lines with outfits, are there colors or ways that we should think about colors and patterns when we're shooting pictures, particularly I think with a professional photographer where we're paying to have the pictures that, we hope are going to come out really nicely? Are there certain colors people should try to wear, they should try to avoid? What are your guys' thoughts on that? And maybe I'll start with Alicia and then go to Sara.
I'm very pro wear any color that you want. I am against colors in certain locations. So if you put on a coral and turquoise sundress, don't go to like an industrial location with brick. It's not going to go to a beach. So you should be matching the colors that you're wearing to the aesthetic of the location that you're at. That's my tip for that. Otherwise, like, everyone has their own individual personal style, so you want to stick with that. Just don't clash with where you're taking the photos.
That's
Yeah.
such a good tip. Sara?
Definitely. Yeah, I agree. You should wear whatever color you want that makes you feel comfortable and makes you feel happy, because that's going to come across in the photo. So, don't let someone tell you. I'll tell you a quick story. One of the first photographers that I ever shot with, she's really great, but she told me that I looked awful in yellow. And so for the longest time, because I am a little more yellow toned, so for the longest time I didn't wear yellow. And now, like a good 15 years later, I love yellow, but it stuck with me for a long time to not wear yellow. And it's kind of unfortunate that I was told that. So don't let anyone tell you that you can't wear color. Just wear what you want. And then, if you're having with a professional photographer, let them help you understand what you should be wearing for that location and things like that. Like Alicia just said, don't wear something that clashes with the aesthetic. I always send the outfits that I'm going to wear ahead to the photographer so they can see what I'm planning, and they can give me advice if it's something that doesn't match either the tone of the shoot, or they had, because we should be collaborating. So if they had a different idea for what they wanted the look to be, they can let me know, or if they just want to give me advice. So certainly, I think again, later we're going to talk about working with or getting comfortable with photographers. But definitely send your outfits ahead of time if it's somebody else taking those pictures for you.
Okay, so that is a great tip. And I had never had a photographer where I sent the outfits ahead of time until I did my engagement photos. And she asked to see what we were going to wear because we were doing, 2 different outfits. And then I think Alicia and I had sent to her and said, this is what I'm going to wear. This is kind of like the aesthetic we're going for, because I really wanted to shoot in her studio. And so we talked about that and what made sense. And I think that was a huge help for them and for me, because they could say, okay, think about this kind of jewelry, or think about that, or tweak this. So I think that's a really good tip, and it's really underrated. And it's interesting because I have clients who come in and they're like, oh, I can't wear this color because someone told me the color looks bad. And I hate when people do that. So the stylist in me wants to say to anyone who feels like they can't wear a certain color, it is probably not that you can't wear a certain color. There are shades of every color that look better on different skin tones, right? And this is like the color theory nerd in me that is about to spill out. So when you say, Sara, you can't wear yellow, it is not that Sara can't wear yellow. I've seen Sara in yellow. She looks gorgeous. But Sara probably should stay away from like a pastel yellow. You know why? Because it's going to wash out and look the same as her skin tone, especially if there's a camera and a flash and everything else, it's all going to look one shade, right? But if Sara wears a goldenrod, she's going to look absolutely gorgeous in that. And so I would say the same thing to you guys. Because I have clients, I have one particular client and she's like, okay, I'm going to work with you, but I don't wear anything green. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't wear green? She's like, my friend told me 20 years ago I should never wear green. And I was like, your friend's a jerk. They're wrong. And she's like, I had this olive green. I was like, no, you shouldn't wear olive green, but you can wear emerald and look beautiful. So I think anyone that feels like that, get that out of your head. So now we've got 3 questions. So this is exciting. So the first question is, I try to change, but I always end up in a black suit every time I take photos for business. Would like to veer, but I'm afraid to take the risk. I have thoughts, but I'm going to let Sara and Alicia share their thoughts first before I jump in with that question. And I'm going to throw in, because the same person also said, and I'm 63 and I don't want to dress my age.
Robin, you remind me of my mom. She's about your age and she's the same way. She's like, this is so stuffy. I don't want to wear a black suit every time. And I think it's, she works for the government, so it's an easy fallback for her. And so one of my biggest prides is getting her to wear color and be comfortable in color, because the black suit is, it's professional, it's easy. And so I think when you're thinking about business, I think it's the cut of the outfit that makes it professional, not the color. And so you could wear a red suit and that's still professional, but it's cut because it's like a suit. And then I've also gotten her to think about you know, just things that look good for her, like light colors. She's you know, slightly more like, has like a slightly darker red complexion, so like a soft pink instead of like a white blouse, things like that. So just making small edits to things that are like considered traditional kind of can get you step by step out of that just like black suit, white blouse kind of comfort zone.
I'm all about a power suit. I'm into it, but I definitely recommend different colors. And it doesn't always have to be a suit. You could wear high-waisted paper bag pants with a nice button-up. I'm into being a little bit edgier with mine. I have like a sheer button-up top, and I'll put on like some nice high-waist. It still looks professional, but it's more me. Even something like a blazer and jeans looks professional in photos. Like a blazer with a pattern. You can mix and match pretty much anything to look professional.
Yeah, so, and I would say if you don't want to just have a plain black suit, but you still feel like you need the suit to come across as professional in your industry, like you could look at, like Sarah was saying, the cut of a suit, or change up the jacket, right? Like you could have a peplum jacket instead of a regular suit jacket, and that instantly is going to make you look fashion forward and stylish, but still really professional. If you are going to wear a blazer, try a tie neck blouse and putting a pretty brooch. I have a client, and it's funny because like I'll see her, you know, she'll snap a picture before she's going into a meeting or something like that, and I'll be like, hey girl, that tie neck blouse is great, but take that brooch off your shoulder and put it in the bow, so you know, so draw some attention there. Or instead of wearing a plain white tie neck blouse, go wear that leopard print one or something like that. So think about taking you know, what you have and elevating it by using patterns or prints or different things like that. I think the other thing that you could wear to still look professional if you want to just get away from a suit entirely is think about a nice wrap dress. Think about a pretty A-line dress or something like that, where you can use a piece of jewelry around your neck to really elevate the outfit and elevate the look. You're still going to look professional, but you won't necessarily look stuffy like you might feel in a suit. So I hope those help. We have another question that kind of piggybacks off this. And so it says, I used to live in suits and very, very formal work attire and have been struggling with choosing looks for headshots or website pictures that match my personality or the work that she's doing with high school girls. So what are some things, and I'll jump in here first and give you two a chance to think about it. I would say one thing you could think about is mixing the type of clothing that you're wearing. And I know this person, so I have like a little bit of insight into them, but I think, you know, if you're going to wear like a really cute pleated skirt and a heel, throw on a graphic t-shirt with a blazer or with a leather jacket or something like that. So it's still going to look professional, but you're going to look cool. You're going to look like, oh, okay, this is the person that's working with me in my school. Okay, I can relate to her. I want to talk to her, that sort of thing. Think about doing even like a cool high-waisted wide leg pant with a graphic t-shirt and a blazer. So it still looks kind of like a suit, but you've elevated it. You've taken it to the next level, but you've also made it like cool at the same time. So I would say, you know, in that case, if you're still wanting to look professional, but want to like edge it up a little, think about mixing and matching the style of clothes that you're wearing, or mixing and matching your fabrics. So soft fabrics with hard fabrics. So like a chiffon blouse with a more structured blazer, like that sort of thing. Do you guys have anything you want to add?
I'm a big fan of jumpsuits. They can look very professional. I wear a lot of jumpsuits that have a collar, or a jumpsuit that's kind of flowy with a blazer. They still look professional. They're way more comfortable, and you can get them everywhere now.
Yeah, and then just, I think one thing to add, you said for headshot specifically, just remember it's a headshot, so it's not your entire body, and you don't need to find an outfit that's going to work for your entire body if you're just going to do headshots with it. So think about your neckline, or like the interest around your shoulders, because that's as much as you're going to see in the photo.
That is a really great point. So now this next question that came in is, and I think we'll start with Sarah, and then Alicia, if you have anything to add. But this person wants to know if we have any tips about posing in bathing suits or like types that are more flattering in what to wear. So I feel like Sara has some experience in this area, so I'm gonna let her go first. And her bathing suit game is strong.
So I'm a big fan of wearing whatever type of bathing suit you want. I wear bikinis. I love bikinis, and I don't care what anyone says. I know not everybody is gonna have the don't care in a bikini mentality, and I totally get that. So again, firstly, find one that's comfortable for you and makes you happy. And then secondly, I do a lot of cheating in my pictures, so that's that 3/4 angle, because again, it's naturally slimming. Also think about how you place your arms. So I do have a larger stomach, and so a lot of times I'll take my arm and kind of drape it like diagonally across my stomach and then do that cheating angle, and then you see more of my arm than you see my stomach, and you can kind of angle yourself so that you're focused on different things in a way that isn't going to focus on the area you don't want it to. Also, like ruched bathing suits that kind of like gather around the stomach, those kind of help again detract from that part of your body. And then think about things like small skirts, or like maybe the little tiny boy shorts and things like that. So again, they create different with posing, it's all about angles and the way that your body is kind of the shape of things. So think about the shapes that you're creating with the clothing that you're picking, especially with something like a bathing suit.
Alicia, do you have any tips as our photographer?
What Sara said, I'm all about the ruched bathing suits. I like 2 pieces too. I like the high-waisted bottoms. I think they look really good. I'm a big fan of 1 pieces that have a really cool pattern, like tropical leaves or something. I feel like when you get a pattern on it, that definitely you're more drawn to the pattern than focusing on a certain area.
Yeah, and I would just say, think about like when Sara was saying it's all about your body and the angles you're creating. Anything that you can do to make yourself look longer or taller. So if you're standing in front of the ocean, you can do something with your arms like this. Or if someone can kind of if you're laying on a beach chair and they can kind of shoot you from the side and then like a longer angle, it's going to elongate how you look in the picture. So I think anything like that, you obviously don't want to be like sitting and scrunched over and hunched over, because it's going to draw attention to like every place you don't want to be seen. So I know I follow this Instagram account called Influencers in the Wild, and so it's like people taking videos of like people taking pictures and stuff like that. And so some of the favorites are always like people like rolling around on the beach or like doing things and sitting in the sand and arching their back and all of that. But the pictures in real life come out really good because they're doing things to elongate themselves and not like hunch themselves in. So hopefully that answered your question. So keep the questions coming. We're going to just go back to a couple other questions, but if you guys have more questions, just throw them in the chat there. And so we talked about this a little bit when Alicia and Sara talked about make sure your outfit matches where you're taking your pictures. But are there particular places that you think generally make for really good pictures or better places to take pictures than maybe like other places? And maybe I'll start with you, Alicia, as a photographer. I'm sure you have places you like to take pictures versus, places are like, meh. And then, we'll go to Sara after that.
I don't think there's a wrong place to take a picture. I honestly think about the reason you're taking these pictures. They're going to be somewhere. You're either hanging them up in your home, they're going on social media, they're going on your website. So wherever the location is, that should flow and match this, if it's your social media, the brand. You could be at a park, woods, beach. You could be trying to take photos for a certain season, so that, say it's a holiday time, you could go to a tree farm or something. But I don't think there's a wrong location. Just make sure that your outfit matches the location and that the location is purposeful.
That's a good point.
Yeah, definitely agree. The reason why you're taking the photo and what you're going to use it for. But otherwise, I think, and hopefully everyone's kind of hearing a theme here that we keep saying, like, do what makes you comfortable, and feel good about what you're doing, but there's not really like a wrong. It's just, why are you doing it and what's the purpose, and just be thoughtful and intentional about how you're doing these things.
Yeah, I think do what makes you comfortable is like a huge tip. because it'll show if you're comfortable or uncomfortable in your pictures. And most of us are like already uncomfortable anyway, being in front of particularly a professional photographer. And so you don't want to be just in an uncomfortable situation anyway, and then add to that uncomfortability because you're in a place that you don't really want to be. So now here's the $1 million question. I'm going to throw it to Sara first, and then I'll ask Alicia too. How do we take good selfies?
So again, I kind of said it earlier, you know, a lot of it is practice and figuring out what looks good for you, because it's a little different for everyone. But in general, make sure you're paying attention to where you're holding your phone. So, you know, don't hold your phone down here or here, or like even here, you know, for especially, again, if you happen to be a little curvier, you want to hold your phone up, but also because you're thinking about this and like the angle that you're creating with your face. For me, again, I do a lot of head tilt. I can't even say that word, head tilt, because it creates an interesting angle for your face. And especially it can help you play with the light, like how you turn your head. And then like you can play with like the placement of your eyes, but don't like cut your eyes all the way to the side, because that creates those weird whites in your eyes. So just like for me, I'll probably take, for any selfie that I actually want to post, I'll take like 25 or 30 to find the one that I want it to be. And I'll do a lot of different things. Like I'll change like how I'm smiling. I'll change my eyes very slightly just to see how that looks. And the last thing that I would say is with your eyes, especially where you're looking, don't look directly at your camera, like, you know, the actual camera itself, like look slightly above it, because otherwise you'll end up with like a little bit of bags under your eyes, or you might be squinting a little bit. So open your eyes a little bit and look slightly up.
Everything Sara said. Hold the phone up, make sure that there's a good source of light on your face. Take a lot of them, practice, see what looks good for you. A little bit of head tilting is always really cute. Yeah. And
I would just add, someone told me like in a pinch to always remember up and to the left. So I almost always take myself, like I can't even take a selfie with my right hand because I've gotten such in the habit. So like if you don't remember anything else, remember up and to the left, and that'll get you the streamlined version of everything that they just said. But I think those are great tips, and thank you for validating me having 8 million photos of myself in my phone, because I'm like, if you say it, I must be doing it right. So this is a great question that just came in, and it's actually one that we had that I was going to ask you guys anyway, so I'm just going to jump to it. So this person says, a majority of our pictures are family photos. Any pointers would be helpful, since I'm the only lady in the family. And then I also know this person, and she has 2 boys. So it's her husband and her 2 sons. One is 10, about to be 11. Wow, can't believe I just said that. And the other one just turned 6. So it's 2 boys, but they're also rambunctious at times. So what tips, especially, you know, Alicia, do you have for shooting with other people, shooting with families, and shooting with kids?
My biggest advice for families and kids is make that session short. Kids don't hold their attention in photos for longer than 10, 15 minutes maybe, and always get the main photo that you want first. So if you want the picture perfect, everyone standing together looking at the camera smiling photo, make sure that's the very first photo that you take, and you can circle back if you need to. Also hand placement. I'm really big on people just like dangling their arms without purpose. Hold someone's hand, loop someone's arm, wrap your arm around their shoulder, wrap your arm around their shoulders from the back or something. Place your hand on their shoulder, but just find a way to, you know, look like you love each other. Yeah.
Sara, do you have anything to add about particularly like posing with other people and things like that?
So Latoya, I saw you said because you're the only woman. I think anytime you and I think everyone is, I don't have a family, so I can't really relate it back to that, but just thinking from the perspective of you're going to stand out in a picture because you're the only of something. And so when you're thinking, it's like, it makes you the natural focal point, even if you want maybe the focal point to be your kids. I think it just ends up happening that way. And so think about like what you're wearing, I think too, in contrast to like the rest of your family, just knowing that people are going to end up seeing you regardless of what you may have intended. And then just with your placement, I think too, you know, and obviously, like Alicia said, I think at this point, whatever you have to do to get a good picture with your kids in the shoot, probably do it. But just think about, don't forget about yourself, you know, too, because you're just as important, I think, as the rest of your family members.
Yeah, so I think those are all really great tips. I'm going to stop here and particularly plug Alicia's website, because she has a section that talks about shooting, particularly with children, and it's full of great tips. So I just pasted everyone's websites, Instagrams, Facebooks, all of that, so you can find us. And I pasted it in the chat, but I would say particularly go to Alicia's website, because she talks about that, like doing it after nap time and not right before nap time. Give your kids a snack. If you have to bribe them for 20 minutes to do, you know, like, it's just really helpful. And even I think about that as we think about like James's first birthday photos and what those are going to entail, and knowing how like I have very small windows where there's a happy baby that I can take his, you know, 8-month photos at and that sort of thing. And so I would definitely say visit her website, because she just has a lot of like really great tips. And I think, Sarah, that's also a really great tip about remembering you're the natural focal point because you are the only one of something. Because I don't think we think about that. And I think especially as moms, you know, we don't think about that because we're like trying to make sure everyone else doesn't look crazy and isn't going nuts and insane. So that's a really great point. So now I want to talk about how can we get comfortable with our photographers, and how can we also make our photographers comfortable with us? Because I know a lot of times when you're shooting with a professional photographer, you may not have met them before. You maybe have had some emails or a phone conversation, maybe. So what are some of the things that we can think about as the subject to make it more comfortable for the photographer? And I'll throw that to you, Alicia. And then also, what can we think about how to make ourselves more comfortable? And I'll throw that one to you. So why don't we start with Sarah and talk about how we can be more comfortable with the photographer. And then Alicia, you can tell us what things we can do to make you more comfortable with us.
Yeah, so Erika, I think definitely any like pre-communication you can do, just, you know, remember, obviously you're dealing with a human being, and so they're going to be a person much like you are. And then whenever you get there, so for any shoot that I ever did, one of the best ways to kind of start the conversation is like you have to show them what you're wearing. So pull out all your looks and start talking about them and just start having a conversation with them. The first thing you're going to do like isn't going to be jump in front of the camera. So like spend like 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, you know, just kind of like talking with them, you know, get to know them as a person so that you feel like you actually, there's like someone behind the camera lens and you're not just like, you're not just looking at the camera when you're shooting with them. And one of the biggest things just in general when you're shooting is music. So if you're in a studio setting, I always would play music. And it would always be a fun conversation to find something that the photographer and I could agree on to set the mood. And it was something that we both liked. So music is a nice thing to unite over and make you feel a little more comfortable.
I think that's great. Alicia, what do you got?
For being comfortable with your photographer, I'd say get to know them. Read their websites, about page, stalk them on social media, follow along for a little bit, and chat with them back and forth, whether it is on a phone call, a video chat, or email. And then for you becoming comfortable, I think it's really important that you communicate what you want up front. You need to tell them what you like, what you don't like, what you expect. So after the fact, you're not disappointed in something. Just be upfront about it all. Most of my clients, if not all of the women, they hate their arms. But I will have some women who wear a strapless or a tank top, and I'm just like, I recommend wearing something with sleeves so that you aren't focused. That's the only thing you see in your photos afterwards. Like everything could be perfect, but you're just so zoned in on that one thing that you don't like about yourself. So just communicate that. Don't be embarrassed to communicate it either. You don't have to put yourself down or be dismissive, like just be open and honest about it.
I think that's a really great point. And it goes back to sending and telling your photographer what you're going to wear, because they can say, hey, you might want to bring a jacket, and we'll shoot some with the jacket and some without the jacket. So give them the opportunity for feedback. I can definitely speak to Alicia and some other photographers that I've had where we've communicated back and forth, or even just like talking on social media, like, oh, you know, they say something in their Insta stories and you reply in your DM. But it just does build a rapport, and you feel like you know the person, which is helpful, you know, because you don't feel like you're shooting in front of like a complete stranger, which is, like I said, most of us are not models, so we're not used to being in front of the camera anyway. So the last thing you want to do is be in an uncomfortable situation and then also feel uncomfortable with the person that you're shooting with. And, you know, I mean, to Sarah's point, photographers are people, they're human beings, so they're not gonna bite, they're not scary. I mean, I think particularly ones that you're going and you're seeking out and you're hiring, you pick them for a reason. You know, I picked Alicia for our maternity shoot because I loved her aesthetic. Like, I just thought it was so cool. You know, our wedding photographer, we picked her because we loved her aesthetic for the weddings and some of the like photojournalistic shots she could get. So you've already decided you like this person. It's not some stranger, you know, jumping in. So I think you have like a natural starting off point already. So now here is a question. And I think we've kind of talked about it, because the best way to get in front of a camera is get comfortable in front of a camera is to practice, right? But do you guys have any other tips about things that could help us relax when we actually get to the photo shoots and it's time to take the pictures? And maybe I'll start with, go ahead, Alicia. Go ahead. No, go.
It was just a joke. I said, take a shot.
That helps.
That can definitely help.
A lot of my clients, I mean, I actually had some clients who drank way too many mimosas before their morning and evening sessions. So just a little salt to take the edge off, and shake it up. My thing is shimmy. Just,
yeah. My boyfriend has already told me whenever we do get engaged and we do our engagement photos, he's definitely going to be taking a shot, because I think Dwayne's like Roger. He has no interest in being in front of the camera, but he does know who he'll be marrying. So yeah. And then going back to the music too, like, I think, you know, music makes us comfortable. So, you know, play, you know, whatever you would play to like get ready for a night that you're going out with your friends, you know, something that is going to make you relax, and take that edge off. It also helps you create the mood that you want to convey in the photos. So, you know, for me, you know, if I want to be sexy, I'm going to play music that I might, you know, want to do a little striptease to or something, you know, like, so make it definitely, you know, it can help, I think, just like make you relax a little bit more.
I think those are really great tips. I think it also helps you get comfortable in front of the camera if you can be like doing something and not just posing and standing there. So I know one thing that helped when Roger and I had to do our engagement photos, because this was like the first time outside of like Olin Mill photos with his family that he, you know, had to do professional pictures. And so our photographer had us like, she took shots of us walking around, or him like walking, you know, helping me down the stairs and up the stairs. So it gave us something else to concentrate on instead of being like, oh my God, she's taking our pictures, what are we going to do? So I think anytime you can naturally have something, you know, to do to start getting loosened up before you get into like the more posy photos is also going to help you. And you guys jump in if you have questions. We just have a couple more questions to go. Because actually just one more, because everyone asked all the questions that we had prepared, which is great. We're excited about that. So I think my last question for you guys, and then again, we'll open it up, is let's talk hair and makeup for the photos. We talked about clothes and what we think works, but what tips do you have about hair and makeup? What mistakes have you seen people make? And is there anything that should be avoided? So first, let's talk mistakes, because I think that will naturally lead us into how to avoid those mistakes. So what mistakes have you guys seen with photos that people are taking, you know, coming into the studio, or Sarah, you know, as a professional?
Alicia, I feel like you should go first. I feel like you
okay.
have so
Yeah,
good.
I'm sorry.
My
I'm pointing and you can't see me pointing. I don't know why I'm doing that. Yeah, so Alicia, why don't you start and then Sarah, you can jump in.
Okay. I think I have 3 big things. Do not try anything new the day of. You need to practice. Do a trial. Don't cut your hair, I did this on my wedding day. I even did a trial. I ended up having to do my hair myself. I did a trial, and during the trial, I was just like, oh, she'll just figure it out on my wedding day. Didn't happen. Don't try anything new. My biggest pet peeve with professional makeup is when I can see eyelash glue. Our professional cameras pick up on everything. So make sure that you tell your makeup artist, or if you're doing it yourself, that they're using something that's not going to be like a clumpy white glue that shows up in your photos. And this is also like something that I feel like just can apply to everything in life. Every hairstyle is not going to match every outfit that you wear. So you have to be very aware of your hairstyle when it comes to your outfit. I'm not going to wear space buns with like a formal outfit or something like that. So just play around with that a little bit.
Yeah, agreed, especially on the trying something new. I think I feel like Alicia, you and I should like talk. We could probably trade like horror stories, like especially just from like a professional standpoint, because when you're just a quick tangent, when you're a professional model, you don't have a lot of control over your appearance. You kind of have to do what your agency wants you to do or what the photographer client wants you to do. And so there are times that I've, been asked to put things in my hair, like, go get highlights or things like that. And I'm like, okay. And then it's bad. So don't be, when there's a whole side, we can have a whole conversation to like the downsides of being a professional model and how much it can be challenging. But I think make sure you bring your own makeup with you, especially if you have a makeup artist, because they may not be able to match your skin tone. It doesn't matter what complexion you are. Don't count that a makeup artist is going to have every color under the sun. Especially when I was still modeling, was pre like Rihanna and having like 80 color shades that they could choose from. So it could be very limiting. And even like the type of makeup, like you're going to know what works best for you. So just bring your own stuff with you. If there's going to be a professional makeup artist there. And then I think also like to your point about hairstyles too, you don't want to have the same hairstyle in every photo because it'll make all your photos look similar, even if you're changing your makeup or your outfits. So think about what the styling goes all the way up to your hair. So think about which hairstyles go with what you want to do and think about how you can change it up so you get a diversity of looks, especially if you're paying, to have those photos taken. You don't want to, at the end of the day, end up being like, oh, I look exactly the same in every photo, but I'm wearing 3 different outfits,
Yeah, I actually have a little tip about that. Depending on how your hair is done, I have done my own headshots in a way that I change my lipstick with every outfit change, but I also change my hairstyle. So it looks like it's 3 to 4 completely different shoots, but I've done this where I've started off with space buns, I've taken it out in front of like a car reflection, put it in a top knot, and then I've taken it out and just like shaken my hair out to be like the little curly fro that it is. So if you could plan a phase of changing your hair, your hair, so like plan a change that like will flow with your hair, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yep, that's a really great tip, is thinking about changing your hair and makeup with your outfit changes, because I don't think people think about that. And then to your point, I see this especially in engagement photos where the hair and the makeup is the same, but one outfit is casual and one is really dressy. And it's like, no, you don't wear daytime makeup with your dressy outfit. So like you have to think about that. And so, yeah, if you can, change your hair and do it in different ways, then definitely do that. If your hair, like my hair, if I'm wearing it down and like call it wavy or whatever, and then I put it up and then I try to take it back down, it's going to be like a hot mess. So think about, can you put a hat with the outfit, a headband with it? Or if you're going to do an updo, make that like your last look that you're doing. So you don't have to try to get your hair to like be under control again after you do that. And with the makeup, the easiest way to like switch it up, because you're obviously not going to do a whole new face, is like think about nudes or lighter colors or brighter colors for like your more casual outfits, and richer, darker lipsticks, you know, like the sexy reds and all that kind of stuff for when you're getting dressed up. And obviously, if you're wearing a dark lipstick, make that your last look that you're shooting, so you don't have to figure out how to get it off without wiping off all of your other makeup to put a lighter color on. So you also kind of want to think about the best order to shoot your different outfits and your different looks in. But I think those are really good points. And oh God, the hair thing, like, oh my God, the like, don't try something new with your hair. I can't tell you how many times people are like, yeah, I just thought I would do this thing and it didn't work. And yeah, hair trials for your wedding are like super, 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 super important. I'm really sorry she still couldn't get it right like the day of. My poor hairstylist for my wedding and my trial, I think our trial was like 4 hours. I was like, no, I don't like that. Try something else. Try something else. Yeah. And then I had like a hair, I was supposed to have a hair switch at my wedding too, to have this like really long like ponytail, and then she forgot it at the hotel. So that was like a whole thing too, because we had like taken the piece out and then we realized she forgot it. So then she had to like redo my hair. So like, thank God she knew what she was doing and she could redo it. So yeah, anytime you can practice or have a trial, that's like super important. So we're at an hour and 15 minutes. We have a few people left on the call. So I just want to pause for 1 second and see if any of them have any final questions before we let everyone get back to their Saturday. So I'm going to stop talking and you guys can either unmute yourself or you can put in the chat like, nope, I'm good. Keep, you know, we can go. Yep. So this is great. So I think seems like everyone's good. Hopefully everyone's questions have been answered. So Sarah and Alicia, I want to thank you guys for spending time with us. This was awesome. Such a great chat. So many great tips. I want to let you both know. Yeah, so sorry, I'll answer your question in 1 second, Robin. But I do want to let you guys know there will be a replay. So I record all of our sessions, and then if you guys want to share it, if you want to post it, feel free. And then for everyone that's watching, if there's something you want to go back to, you can watch the replay and go back and check it out. Will I be doing this again? So I do have one more Saturday style chat scheduled for next Saturday, and I'm super excited about it. It's called Failing Forward. And it's a little bit different because all of my past style chats have been around fashion and style and different topics, but I just thought this one was really important. So I'm actually bringing on 2 small business owners to talk about how do you not get paralyzed by setbacks and different things, and how do you, instead of failing and letting that cause you to quit, how do you fail forward and let that propel you into the next thing? And I think especially now, we're all kind of in this like standstill, and the things that we thought we were going to be doing in 2020 and wanting to be doing are not happening. And so how do we really not let the situation that's going on right now paralyze us? So I have Unica J coming on, who is a CEO of a company called Rewrite 365. She is my mentor. She is like the most powerful person I have ever met. And she normally, it costs like thousands of dollars to get her to speak. So I would say if you're free next Saturday at 11, you should be there because she's incredible. She's phenomenal, and she's normally expensive, and she's doing this for us for free. And then I also have a woman named Jennifer Wagner who's going to be on. And Jennifer is a transformation and health coach. And she has this incredible story where she lost 160 pounds doing it the all natural, just changing her diet, changing her exercise. And she really is just, it's an incredible story about stops and starts and, you know, and how do you find the right thing and how do you not let that totally derail you? And so I think people are going to be super excited about that. Starting in June, I'm going to go to doing these chats once a month, but I think our June chat is going to be all about our hair and how we can manage it for the summertime, how we can manage it at home, because hair salons and appointments are not going to look the same as they did before. So I think, you know, that'll be really exciting. And then I'll put out a schedule for future chats after that. So I hope everyone will join us. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Alicia. This was a great chat. I'll be rewatching it for more tips. And I just appreciate the both of you so very much. And I hope everyone has a great Saturday.
Thanks, Erika.
Thank you. It was nice chatting. Bye.
Yeah, so good to
Bye,
see
everyone.
you. Bye. Thanks for coming. Take care.